Steady? Ah, bisa.
Testing, testing. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'll be presenting our research paper entitled Exploring English Teachers' Technology Acceptance and the COVID-19 Pandemic for Sustainable Education. It is a systematic literature review paper. So as we know that, next slide, please. As we know that technology is always significant in providing opportunities and possibilities to warrant everyone receiving comprehensive and unbiased quality education and opportunities for lifelong learning. The emergence of novel coronavirus, this is 2019, at the beginning of 2020 worldwide, resulted in a swift and drastic educational system disruption in a global context. So consequently, this resulted in the school closure, and we have shifted ourselves into the mode of emergency remote teaching, or in Malaysian context, we can call it as BDBR. Therefore, the COVID-19 pandemic has actually forced the English teachers to adopt technology as their only choice to deliver teaching, regardless of whether the teacher's technology competency level and as well as the acceptance level, to ensure the continuous of students' learning during the pandemic. So therefore, it's worth investigating to identify to what extent the English teachers are willing to adopt technology to accomplish their jobs or to deliver lessons during the COVID-19 pandemic. And with that, we also want to predict the future educational trends and identify their intentions to adapt and integrate technology in their ESL classroom in short future, which means after the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, next. Okay, I think before that, the technology acceptance models. Okay, all right. So these are the research questions of our study. So number one, what is the technology acceptance level of English teachers for emergency remote teaching during the COVID-19 pandemic? And what are the key factors that affect English teachers' behavioral intentions to accept technology for emergency remote teaching during the COVID-19 pandemic? Okay, next slide, please. So when we talk about technology acceptance, in general, there are three, I would say these are the most common theories that are widely used by the researchers. So number one, we have technology acceptance model. which enable we researchers in identifying, selecting, appraising, and synthesizing studies in a more effective manner. So as we can see in the diagram and the slide, there are three main processes, which are identification, screening, and also the included. So in terms of the identification, we have retrieved the articles from two databases, which are Scopus and Web of Science. These both databases were chosen because they are perceived as the two major and most wide-ranging sources of publication metadata and impact indicators. So we have done through the removal of the articles due to various reasons, such as duplicating articles, and also these articles might be marked as ineligible by the automation tool, by the sorting table. And all in all, after that, eventually, there will be 22 studies were included for our systematic literature review because they are relevant to our studies, and I'll be showing the selection criteria in the next slide. Okay, so these are the search strings and also the inclusion and exclusion criteria that we adopted to search for the articles. So as we know, if you want to use a manual method to look for the articles via Scopus or WOS databases, you need to have a search string. And this search string plays a role that they will help you to screen the articles, and only the relevant articles will be appearing in front of your screen. So here are the search strings that I had used. So let's look at the inclusion and exclusion criteria. So there are 5 criteria that we have, six criteria that we have listed out while we are screening for the articles. So the first one is perceptions. We aim to identify teachers' acceptance, technology acceptance level. So we have included the articles concerning teachers' technology acceptance, and we have excluded the rest. On the other hand, so in terms of type of articles, we have only included journal articles, and we excluded other than journal articles such as proceedings, etc. In terms of language, we only focus on English language because this literature review paper aims to identify English teachers' technology acceptance level. Other than English language, maybe I may not understand, so I exclude it as well. The publication year should be after 2020 to current because some of the papers, they were published in 2021, but their research were done before the COVID-19 pandemic. So in this context, we have removed them as well because they are not relevant, because the research was not done in the COVID-19 settings. And we have included the articles which adopted quantitative and mixed method designs because it's like more respondents and we can generalize the findings to its targeted population. And we have excluded qualitative studies such as case study because the number of respondents might be too little to represent its targeted population. So in terms of the use of technology acceptance theory, we want to make sure that at least one technology acceptance theory was used by the researchers in their research paper, such as the theories that I have shown you just now. Like for TAM model, TAM, there are actually TAM 1, TAM 2, TAM 3. And you thought we have you thought 1, you thought 2, that doesn't matter. As long as there was one theory used in their paper, then we included it. All right, next slide, please. So these are the findings. Okay, where did the finding come from? In terms of the English teachers' technology acceptance level for emergency remote teaching, I had retrieved the data from their descriptive analysis, which is mean score. So in terms of mean score, let's say a 5-point Likert scale. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if we divided 5 into 3, it would be like 1.33. So for instance, 0 to 1.3 will be low technology acceptance. Then 1.33 to 3.67 will be moderate, and the rest will be in high level. So only the section of behavioral intention was retrieved, because we want to know to what extent they intended to adopt technology for their teaching and learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. So as we can see from the pie chart here, like more than half of the articles, they did not mention about the technology acceptance level, because most of them, they use the structural equation model, or SEM, to conduct the analysis, and descriptive statistics were not shown. So this is why we couldn't retrieve for the data for all articles that we have selected. So if we look at the rest, we can notice that there are 31% of the articles stated that most of the English teachers had a high level of technology acceptance level for deliver emergency remote teaching during the pandemic, while the 9.1% of them, I think there are 2 articles which had a moderate level of technology acceptance. These 2 articles, they were conducted in developing countries. So their socio-economic context might be different compared to other developed countries, and they were having problems in obtaining facilities and resources to conduct emergency remote teaching with the integration of technology. So this was why this happened. All right, next slide, please. So our next research objective is to identify the factors, the most significant or impactful factors that affect their technology acceptance level. So what we had done is, we had listed all the factors that stated in the articles by ranking. The most significant factor by ranking. So we can, as we can see, so here are the results with the bar chart as well. But if you notice that actually the TUM model and UTOP model and TPB models, some of the factors, they are actually duplicating. For example, in the TUM model, we have a factor called perceived usefulness. If we talk about perceived usefulness, that means that if English teachers find technology is useful, they'll use it. And then we talk about the performance expectancy in UTOP. If the English teachers think that technology can improve their performance in their teaching, they'll use it. So you can notice that actually some of the factors, they're actually overlapping. So what I have done is, we had gone through the literature, we had found the papers which stated that, okay, this theory is overlapping that with another theory, another factor in that theory. So we had came up with another data in the next slide. Next slide, please. So here is we have combined the overlapping factors, but we did not remove the names. We keep the names, but we leave it there. For example, the first one, perceived usefulness and performance expectancy. One is from TUM model, another one is from UTOP model. So based on the table and the chart shown here, it is obvious to see that most of the teachers adopted technology for emergency remote teaching during the pandemic because they find it useful. And then the next one will be perceived ease of use or effort expectancy, which means that the second, it was ranked as the second highest factor because most English teachers find technology easy to use. And the third one will be, it's not third one, but it's still ranked second, is their attitude. They have positive attitudes towards to adopt technology, then they intend to use it. And then the next one will be social influence and subjective norm. So social influence means that the people surrounding us, such as family members, colleagues, peer teachers, and also administrators. If they influence you positively to use it, or maybe they negatively influence you, like they persuaded you that, oh, using technology is bad. So you might be positively or negatively influenced because of them. And the next one will be facilitating conditions or perceived behavioral control, which means that if you have sufficient or adequate technology tools, devices, or resources, then you intend to use technology. So, and these are considered as the 5 main factors. For the other factors such as TPAC, self-efficacy, which were not found in the technology acceptance model, were also ranked high because there are some researchers added new factors in their studies. So we have included them as well. All right, next slide. So if we look at the, let's discuss the results based on the findings that we obtained. So in general, the results of English teachers' technology acceptance for emergency remote teaching is generally positive because they have a high level of technology acceptance level, and they were willing to use it, and they were optimistic in accepting technology during the pandemic. And then they had, also during the pandemic, it is found that they have embraced the fact that technology had become their only available tool and the most effective tool to deliver teaching and learning as well. However, there were 2 studies found that they portray a moderate level of technology acceptance, as what I have mentioned before, because they were not ready to conquer the challenges of emergency remote teaching, and due to the deficiency of technology devices, tools, and resources. And also an interesting finding that I find in our studies is that teachers' technology acceptance level did not differ from their experience, but discrepancy occurred based on their gender. This is an interesting finding that we had identified, because the findings show that male teachers, they were more inclined to adopt technology for education purposes after the pandemic compared to female teachers. However, there is only a few studies mentioned that it couldn't be generalized as yet. Right, next slide. So among the factors that we had listed and calculated, and these are the key factors affecting English teachers' behavioral intentions to accept technology for emergency remote teaching during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was arranged according to the number of studies. So as far as I mentioned, the most significant factor will be perceived usefulness and performance expectancy. And the next one will be perceived ease of use and effort expectancy, social influence and subjective norm, facilitating conditions, and perceived behavioral control. And the 5th one will be attitude of use. So these factors play a major role in influencing whether teachers intend to adopt technology for deliver lessons during the pandemic or not. Okay, next slide. So in conclusion, it is believed that our systematic literature review paper had provided an insight to various stakeholders in the education field on in terms of the English teachers' acceptance during the pandemic. However, this review only adopted 2 databases, which are Scopus and Web of Science. And there might be more and more articles appearing because the COVID-19 will just move to the endemic mode this year. And we expected that there will be more and more articles coming from either from the same database or from the other databases such as ERIC and Google Scholar. And also this review only focused on technology acceptance from the English teacher's perspective. However, the ESL learners' perceptions should be studied as well, because we find that ESL learners are our clients. Their voices should be heard. So we also recommended future studies to conduct systematic literature reviews on students' technology acceptance level for online learning during the COVID pandemic. All right, I think that's all for our paper presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your excellent presentation. So now we'll open up to the floor for any questions you might have for our speaker. So if there's any questions, could you please raise your hand?